Pani Devi is there. We'll wait for a minute for her to join.
Ma'am, sir, actually,
So good
is
evening,
it, can I
everyone.
start the recording?
Yeah, he has started the recording.
Okay.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Myself, Akash Ganguly, and today I and along with Kshitij, we both are going to present a few things, few hardware aspects of the processors which are available to us under system on chip, that's SoC. So next slide, please. So these are the list of the Indian processors which have been given to us under this program of Swadeshi Processor Challenge. By two, I mean, we have two ecosystems, that's Shakti by IIT Madras and Vega by CDAG. Under Shakti processor ecosystem, we have been provided with three SoC templates, that's Pinaka and Parashu, which are of E-class processors, and Vajra, which is a C-class processor. And similarly in Vega, we have one E-class processor, that's ET1031, and Vega AS1061 goes for the C-class. Next slide. So as I said, Shakti processor was started into development in 2014 by IIT Madras. It's an open source processor ecosystem which is actually speaking a family of 32 and 64-bit microprocessors have been fabricated for test purposes twice, once by Intel's 22 and nanometer technology, and again at SCL. So we have been provided with the FPGA prototype software stacks, interconnect fabrics, full SDK and IDE development for ease of application. Next slide. Yeah. So I'll go into E-class first.
Now, what do you mean by open source? Have they made the design open that anybody can access?
Yes, they. I mean, they have given us the Verilog BlueSpec Verilog is available on GitLab, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. So E-class is a majorly 32-bit processor developed using embedded class processors. It basically 3-stage aimed at low power applications. And for example, smart cars, IoT sensors, motor controls, robotic platforms, etc. Next slide. So I'll get into some more details of E-class. It's implemented. It's a core generator implemented on RISC-V spec, and it's written in BlueSpec Verilog under BSD license. We can actually generate various instances of this code. Getting into these microarchitectural details, it is a 3-stage microcontroller with stage 1 for instruction fetch from the bus, decode and operand fetch as well. That goes for stage 1. Stage 2 is the execution blocks where various operations can be performed like addition, subtraction, logical operations, etc. And third stage goes for storage. We have been provided with AXI4 interfaces for good performance connectivity between various blocks, and no caches have been provided in this E-class processor. Next slide. So as I said, it's a 3-stage configurable core generator on RISC-V spec. Actually, we can configure it into various variants, even 30 can convert into 32-bit as well as 64-bit, and maximum on silicon it has been when tested it was giving maximum operational frequency of 400 megahertz, and typically operations of 100 to 200 megahertz are usually supported. Performance level, it's not that high, that is DMIPS per megahertz is less than 1, and in Xilinx FPGA this core can be developed using nearly 3000 LUTs. Next. So as I said again, applications which I mentioned earlier, IoT devices, edge devices, drones, smart cards, which require low frequency operations and low power consumption. Next. So I'll get into C class now. C class is basically 64-bit processor and is Linux capable. That is, it can completely boot Linux into it. Its architecture, talking about its architecture, it's 6-stage in order processor, and it has been developed using RISC-V spec ISA, and its core includes various features like branch predictors, caches, operand bypass, etc. It has been designed such that it provides high performance at minimal power and operation overheads, and it's in competition to ARM's Cortex A35 and A55. And basically, we can use it for various applications like networking, gateways, storage, etc. Can we go to next slide? Yeah, I'll get into some of the architectural details. As I said, the operational modules includes branch predictors, return address stacks, instruction caches, data cache, FPU, which quite an important feature which E-class was not providing, and some PT walks and TLB. Next. So, as said, for the FPU, it provides us with single and double precision FPU support, and RISC-V debugs are also supported with triggers, and again AXI4 interfaces are used for buses, and as said, it can boot Linux completely. And moreover, the Shakti processors, the Shakti team has, as said in the video which was given on the website, they were saying that we can we can change into the Verilog codes as well for adding for implementing various hardware modules like DSP block can also be added into its process in this process as Verilog code. We can do that. Next slide. Yeah, for the operational frequency of C class, it was nearly 500 megahertz to more than 1 gigahertz. At max, they have tried up to 1.7. And as said, it consists of 16 KB instruction caches as well as data cache. And it's for high performance, that's DMIPS per megahertz is 1.72 and COMARCs per megahertz is 2.91. Yeah, next slide. Applications can be high speed and high power applications can be used. Storage, memory controllers, secure computing, IoT applications, aero, auto industrial controls, etc. Edge computing can be some of the applications of C class processors, and auto part, as it says, it's good for auto applications as well. So I guess C class kind of processors would be good for our project as well. Next slide. So this is the screenshot I've taken from the webinar itself. They provides us with various SOC templates and comparison between the SOC templates based on its peripherals and core configurations.
Just keep here a moment. Let's just look through this. the only change is in the memory, right? Otherwise, pretty much they have same configuration, right?
So, some like FPU is available for Vajra, which I guess
Where is it? It's not in this, right?
But like core
Sir, in the
configuration is different.
core
Like
configuration.
branch predictors and cache memory is more. These are the things like
Yes.
different in C++.
And maybe Midhun sir once said in one of our meetings that FPU would be required, I guess.
So between Parachute and Vajra, what is the difference that you can spot? With parallelization, I think there is some benefit in Vajra.
Caches are also available in C class. They are providing with caches as well, and branch predictors are also there.
Yeah, caches
Cache
will
and
be
FPU
there.
unit.
And FPUs as well. FPU is also provided in Vajra.
Parsu also cache will be there. They have not mentioned it.
I see.
Sir, in E class, actually, they didn't say about any cache.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it will be there. Without cache, how that will work?
Okay, continue.
And
Next
one more thing regarding the packaging style, what they told, any thermal management is required.
They actually didn't say about.
You get the details. What's the type of packaging?
So we will be implementing it on RT7 FPGA.
But for now, like we will be implementing it on FPGA board.
Yeah, they
And
don't
like
have any
for-
chips at this commercial chips available.
Actually, I think they're working on that, sir. Like
Yeah.
this
At this moment, they don't have any commercial chips available. So we will be
Okay.
implementing them on FPGAs itself.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
Aditya, recently they have announced a Maushik chip, which is also for IoT-like applications. And that seemed to have bigger capacity than at least the frequency of operation, hundreds of megahertz. So that
So
they have.
actually, these are the ones which they are providing for the challenge itself.
Okay, fine, yeah.
Others are not being. They have some multi-core processors as well, but they are not IE class processors. But they are not providing us that for this challenge.
Yeah.
At this moment, at least.
This 50 megahertz operating frequency is very less compared to the market available other processors.
That's right. That's right.
So otherwise, when they were mentioning in the video, they were like, it can up to 500 megahertz. It can support the C class.
Okay.
That's what I don't understand now. How do they mention?
Yes, sir. Even I was not able to understand it. Why they have given here 50 megahertz.
Previous slide you told up to 1 gigahertz, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Actually,
yes.
they said if we try,
Very
we can even get 2 gigahertz.
2 gigahertz also. They were saying like if we are very ambitious, we can go up to 2 gigahertz also. They have tried up to 1.7 gigahertz, I guess. They said in the video itself, that webinar.
Okay.
And then that and this, why is there difference here? Like this is obtained from which source?
So this screenshot.
This is from the same webinar.
It's from the webinar. I have taken one screenshot.
Sir, I guess we can just confirm in the forum, sir, once.
Yeah,
we
please
can
do that. Yeah, that makes a big difference actually. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We'll do that, sir, today.
Okay, sir. We'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. That was it.
Yeah. Next slide. So these were the expectations which the Shakti team had from this challenge. They said we can customize the hardware and add some DSP blocks also. So we can decide after viewing other processors that whether we should go for DSP block development using this processor, or we can directly use the DSP block from the FPGA, which RT7 provides us, and we can go for custom IPs and custom SoCs as well. Add other peripherals and all. Next slide. Yeah, this was the SDK architecture. I didn't go much into the software part. I was pretty much focused on the hardware part itself. Next, these are the tools they're providing in the software. Yeah, so I'll go to Vega now. So it's developed by CDAC. The CDAC company was established with an ambition to develop India supercomputers when when India was not provided a supercomputer by US. So
Okay.
again, this is an open source processor ecosystem. But the difference from Shakti and Vega, I found it that Shakti is most of the things are available on GitLab itself, but for Vega, for this Vega thing, we have to request them, and they reply back in after few time, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and again they have same 32-bit and 64-bit classes of processors, same FPGA prototypes, full SDK and IDE are available. Okay. Next. Yeah, so I'll go to ET1031. We can compare it with the E-class processors of Shakti at this moment. So it's a 32-bit processor. My 32-bit class processor, and again 3-stage in order pipeline RISC-V base core. RV32IM extension is also available for this challenge for this processor. Multiply and divide units are a part of the execution block, and the processor has been designed in compact and efficient manner. Sensor fusion, smart meters, small IoTs, wearable devices, electronic toys, etc. are some of the applications which they suggested in the webinar. And few peripherals like GPIOs, interrupt controllers, RAM, UART, SPIs are also given, are going to be part of the SOCs. And SOC which they would be providing for the challenge would be on RT-A7 FPGA boards by Xilinx. Next. So this is the architectural block diagram in which, as I said, it's 3-stage architecture. So stage 1 goes is a fetch stage in which generates the PC, considering the IPs from succeeding stages also. So PC generated at this stage is passed to the integrated memory for instruction access. The memory response then is passed to the decode and execute stage. The instruction decode and execute unit access the register files, calculate intermediate values, and check the illegal opcodes and execute as per the opcode given. The execution block has multiple execution units like ALUs, ALUs for arithmetic and logical operations. Multiplier unit is also available for unsigned and signed multiplication, and similarly divider unit is also available for quotient and
1 minute. Please ensure this DMA is there.
one second, I'll check.
Okay, you check that DMA whether it is there.
You mean direct memory access?
Yeah, right.
I'll check once. I haven't checked.
Okay, right. That is required for data processing.
Extra data transfer.
Correct. While processing, you can access the data.
Okay, so the memory write back unit again access the data memory, and memory access stage accesses the memory in a single cycle. The memory and write block also processes the interrupts and execute the CSR instructions. Most of the instructions are completed in single clock cycle. So, and again they have connections using high performance bus interface. Next slide. this is in this processor is in comparison to C class of Shakti. Again, it's 64-bit 6-stage in order pipeline RISC-V base core. Again, RV64 IMSC ISA extension is also available for the challenge. This is again this is optimized for high performance.
What is this extension referring to?
It's ISA instruction set.
Okay. The name of the instruction set.
Yeah.
Okay.
The processor comprises of MMU, that's memory management unit, and efficient branch predictors, as in case it was for the C class from Shakti, instruction in data caches, and targeted for applications like IoT devices, motor controls, high performance embedded systems, consumer electronics, and industrial automation. Peripherals are also available like GPIOs, interrupt controllers, timers, DDR, RAMs. Again, it's on RTA7 FPGA board targeted SoC. Next slide. Yeah, this is the architectural block diagram for AS1061. So, in which the stage 1 goes for PC generation. It generates PC based on the input from the branch predictor modules. Branch predictor modules consists of branch target buffers, branch history buffers, and return address stack arrays for high efficient branch prediction. So PC generation at this stage is passed to ITLB, that's instruction translation look aside buffer, and iCaches. The iCaches is a virtually indexed physical stack cache with single cycle heat latencies. The IMEM response from the cache is routed to the fetch stage and then to the decode stage. The instruction decode unit here ensures operands for execution units which get available here. It accesses the register files, calculates the intermediate values, and check for illegal opcodes. Again, as I explained in the ET1031 processor, and it's then again as per the opcode, the execution block is called. The execution block then supports configurable PC architecture and performs required for operations on data provided by instruction decode stage. We have multiple execution units attached to this execution block: ALU, MU, DU, local store unit to access data. Local store unit is used for accessing data memory, and branch unit calculates the branch address and validate the predicted branch. Most of the operations are tried to be completed in single cycle itself. Then we have the memory access stage. And
what is this AMO there?
AMO.
On the execute unit.
They haven't mentioned much in the video also.
Okay, fine. Continue.
And the right back, we have the memory stage, which accesses the data caches. That's for data caches, and the right back stage is also there to process the interrupts and execute CSR instructions.
What is its operating frequency?
That was something which wasn't mentioned much.
Okay, but they are telling single cycle operation. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Actually, we have to contact them. We have to subscribe them and contact them, sir. Then they provide more details.
Okay. Right.
They were telling most of the operations will be within one cycle.
One cycle means what's the operating frequency? We should know then only whether it is possible or not. We have to our application.
So we will write in the forum.
Right,
We'll check in the forum then, sir.
right, right.
So, yeah. Amrit, next slide. Yeah, these are few other comparisons between ET1031 and AS1061. Basically comparison between the cores. The difference can be seen, and as I suggested, it's in similar comparison with ET1031 going parallel with E class and Vega AS1061 going parallel to C class of Shakti. Next.
Okay.
So these are few of the peripherals provided in the SOCs for the ET1031. Exact numbers they spoke in the video, but I couldn't collect it at that moment. I can pause and get back to you for that. The number of PWMs or ADCs and all. And same, next slide. Similarly, they have provided this SOC structure also. I'll get back to you for the numbers after going through the webinar once more. Next. So these are few of the specifications of RT FPGA board. These are few of the specifications. Most of them we can go through the datasheet. I have also not gone much through the datasheet of this FPGA board. These are few of the informations which I got on the forum and their website.
So Ethernet is also there with this board. 1000 Mbps Ethernet.
Ethernet, C class and 1061 was providing with Ethernet.
Okay.
Yeah, and this FPGA board also provides with Ethernet. Next. So from here on, I guess Amrit, Aditya, Amrit, Prince, and Divi can take over. These are regarding the FFT and DSP part.
Okay, so
Thank you.
last time when we discussed about transceivers, like we were not sure about the data transfer rate and like the parameters that we are going to use as what will be the frame time, what will be interchip time, all those things. So from datasheet only, they have computed average power consumption for a given input. So in that they gave these parameters were there. So we need not calculate much. So what we got from there is the maximum complex sampling frequency was around 18.75, but here for this configuration that we'll be using, it is 16.66 MSPS in complex domain, and bandwidth that we will be using is 4 gigahertz as we have already discussed, and frame time that we will be using is 40 milliseconds, and number of chips per frame will be 512, and number of samples per chip will also be 512.
One minute. Have you arrived 40 millisecond frame time?
So it was given for calculation they took this thing only.
What is that rate you are sweeping?
Sweep rate, don't know, sir.
Sweep rate and frame time, chips per frame, these are related, no?
Yes, sir.
Then from sweep rate you have to back calculate the frame time.
Okay.
Actually, for the average power consumption, they maybe done
Just
some
like this,
experiment.
like a
For that, they
typical.
are using this typical values
Oh,
that we
okay.
mentioned here.
Okay. Right. Okay, proceed.
Okay, so like from this we calculated some values. Like chip flow will be 57.4506 into 10 raised to power minus 12. And we also calculated our resolution and maximum distance, velocity, and angle that we will be able to measure. So maximum distance that we will be able to measure will be 83.55 meters, and resolution will be 3.75 centimeters, which is quite good. And velocity maximum that we would be able to measure would be 51.7 kmph, and resolution will be 0.1 kmph. I guess this is also good. But we are having some problem with angle part, like theta max will be plus minus 90 only, and resolution that we were getting is 28.64 degrees. Like in this formula, 2 by n is the number of receivers that we have. So we have to look into that, how can we improve this resolution. And others, I guess they are pretty good. And like we had some queries regarding, like we studied something, and some things we need to discuss. So first part is DSP extension. So like as we have seen here, like what we can do with in this challenge is we can make changes at core level. Like we can add our different extensions. Like they are also saying like we can add DSP and vector, bitmanip, etc. if we like. So I guess for DSP we'll need to add like DSP extension, or like we can even make a custom SOC. Like if we are having some problems, we can change our SOC also. But for now, we'll just look in DSP extension. So the board that we will be using, board that we'll be using is Artrix 7. It's not 35, actually 100T, and it has 240 DSP slices. So we have to like implement that DSP extension in this only. So we haven't looked much into, like we wanted to discuss like how to proceed from here. And the next query is about interfacing. Like first thing is the CSI data transfer that is happening, how it is. So what we got is these are the information that it can carry, like chip profile information, actual chip number, analog to digital data from all the 4 channels, interleaved fashion. Like first the data will be from first receiver, then from second, then from third, then from fourth receiver. In this way it will be there. And chip quality data will also be there, which is configurable, which we can change. And like in this way it can be represented. Like these memory blocks, they will have the characteristics that we discussed, like chip profile information, chip number, and all those things. After that, what will we have is like the data that we will get. Like this is channel 0, sample 0 I, imaginary part, channel 0, sample 0 Q, real part, and then channel 1, sample 0, imaginary and real part. This is how we will receive. And like from here to here, we have first data, like from for all the 4 channels, and then this is second data, and so on. It can go to maximum 1024 samples, from 0 to 1023. But what configuration we will be using, like we have decided yet, like we can change it later, is like this only. So 512 samples we will need. That's it.
So like we can get a 512 cross 512 2D A50 there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like yeah, and this for improving the resolution, we need more like we'll need more receivers. So for that we can go for cascading also. And like after processing we need a display. So we will also be working on how to interface the display with this thing only. Most possibly, like if it would be possible, we would we'll try to use microprocessor for that, like that Shakti or Vega microprocessor only for this, or like we can use other off-the-shelf component for display. That's
Even off-the-shelf screen can be used.
yes, sir.
So, yeah. We need to write to them to identify the speed-related information and to see which processor is suitable for our purpose.
Yes, sir.
Particularly, you have calculated 4 gigahertz bandwidth. Can you go to that particular slide? How did you calculate 4 gigahertz?
So this is like already available. Like this is for transceiver, like bandwidth for chip bandwidth.
Mhm.
Sir, like I have a small doubt, sir. Like we need to be like concerned about the ADC's sampling rate, sir, because that is the thing that will be an input to the processor, right?
Correct. Yeah. Any idea what is that rate?
Yeah, so it is mentioned at I think it is around 18.75, sir. Complex domain. Amrit, can you just confirm? Go to that slide.
Yeah. Like we have not included in this slide, but it is 18.75 megasamples per second at 12-bit rate.
12 bit. 12 bit.
Yes, sir. 12-bit.
That should probably be easy for the processor to handle, but we'll still confirm the maximum speed that we can get from the processor candidates.
Yes,
Yes, sir. We'll put that in the forum today.
Yeah, and second thing is which processor can actually get us maximum help in terms of materials, community, as well as the makers. That we can choose and finalize to proceed with the rest of the things. So, Midin, what do you suggest?
Yes, sir. This
Sir.
processor side, the speed you have to get it, and one thing is whether there support for any emulators.
Sir, I think more details regarding these processes will be given in a training, sir. Actually, they are going to conduct a training regarding
Whether
it.
you just inquire and get the information regarding
Sir.
any emulator, any hardware support, whether they will provide or not.
Yes, sir. We will do it.
And one other thing is that have you done any literature survey of the presently available this FMCW radars used for this vehicle automotive sector? What is the resolution? How much they are getting?
So resolution, like for distance resolution, it was same, like 4 gigahertz. It will come same. Like velocity, I guess like 2-3 literature reviews I read. Like in that, only this kind of information was already there,
Okay.
around this thing. But for angle, they had greater resolution.
Okay. Okay. While developing a system, we should plan 1 hour higher. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Yes,
Actually,
And,
the Vmax is 51 kilometers per hour. That is one thing that is somewhat lower because
okay.
the vehicle is going at 60 kilometers per hour. Yeah, that may not be able to support.
Correct. So what I was telling that this whatever available specification you collected, and we will hope for a better solution. And based on that specification, we will on the back side we will work out the FMCW CP rate and this your averaging time, that is your frame size and all. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, we should do the reverse engineering and to reach the final specification.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Then you can decide even the ADC sampling rate also.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, even though if you take more number of samples, unnecessarily we need not to collect all samples.
Yes, sir.
And you have multiple transmit antennas. Every receiver you will get a reflected signal, and you will get some information. FFT peak will be there. So
Yes, sir.
in which interval, the interval for which you have to take a averaging, so that a smooth curve you should get. Otherwise, some false alarm may come.
Yes, sir.
That also, the averaging period also decided by the your final resolution or accuracy, whatever you are looking for. Okay,
Yes, sir.
that we have to do either a moving average kind of thing, so that sudden transitions or false alarm should not trigger your output.
Okay, sir. We'll look into that. Yes, sir. Like there was one more doubt. Like in this FPGA board, like in FPGA's configuration, like it was not given that if it supports CSI2 or not. So how do we go for that? Like, would we need a converter, or like we can connect it directly? This was also one.
Okay, you get information from those people.
Okay, sir.
Additional one more converter and all handling all those issues may come.
Yes, sir.
SPI interfacing is there in that Xilinx FPGA board, but
Okay.
CSI is not given.
But the, here in the transceiver, actually, that is just for control signals for SPI indices. This is the data path, actually.
SPI 3-wire or 4-wire?
4 wire.
4-wire.
4-wire.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That too, this our data transfer rate roughly have you worked out?
What, sir?
Data transfer rate, at what rate data will be transferred?
Sir, like from transceiver part, maximum data transfer rate was given 600 Mbps.
600 Mbps.
Yes, sir.
That will be for SPI. It will be
No, not for SPI, sir. It's for like
SPI.
CSI.
SPI I'm asking. SPI asking.
Sir, just a minute. I'll look into it.
Mm-hmm.
Amrit, can you share the data sheet?
Just a minute.
Mm. $150 Mbps. 150 Mbps to 600 Mbps per lane.
Sir, this is for CSI.
Okay.
For SPI, the table was also given, I guess. I guess that it's not given.
Okay. From our experience, we had this SPA interface earlier one package, okay,
Yes, sir.
where we had seen such observation like SPA, some hanging will happen, okay.
Yes, sir. Like when using data when we are doing
Correct.
data transfer.
We were using SPA interface for initializing some controllers or synthesizers like that. So generally we see hanging of these SPA lines.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Here also it's only used for control. So
Is it the same chipset used there also?
No, sir. This SPA interface, most of the synthesizers and other devices having. So they are given parallel option as well as SPA option. And in order to reduce the number of lines, we preferred SPA lines.
Yeah.
So, but this observation we had.
the configuration for LVDS is given but not SPL.
Okay. This you will get it from that community, or we can mail to them. Texas TA only. Okay, you can mail to them. They will
Yes, sir. I will
reply.
post it in forum.
Forum. Okay.
Okay, sir. Like for just a minute. For like increasing this angle resolution, can we use that virtual antenna concept?
Virtual antenna concept. What is that concept?
Like when like we have three transmitters, right, and 4 receivers. So if we can, like at receiver end, we can distinguish the data, like the received signal, we can distinguish like it is from first transmitter, second transmitter, or third transmitter. So like when we receive the signal, like at that point we will get more like transceiver receive pair, transmitter and receive pair.
Okay.
So I guess from that we can include increase angle resolution, but is it possible here?
No, any paper regarding this technique is there?
Any field
There was an MTech thesis, sir, actually.
Yes,
Okay. No, my doubt is in a continuous wave system, how to differentiate from transmitter antenna 1 to pulsed
like
system is okay.
tan division multiplexing when transmitting the data.
But suppose your transmitter 1 is transmitting.
Yes, sir.
3 receivers are active. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And your transmitter 1 is about to end the transmission, and transmit 2 is about to start the transmission, right?
Yes, sir.
How to identify whether it is a transmitter 1 or transmit 2?
So like transmitter 1 will transmit for a time t. Same transmitter 2 and transmitter 3 will do. So when in received signal, we can like divide it into TT times and get the different value.
Okay, all the 3 will receive the same, and time tagged data, you mean, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But like in this thesis, they have used the same thing, like virtual antenna concept. So like from same configuration that we are using, they were getting more antennas, so but they're getting a better resolution, angle resolution.
Okay. selective transmission is possible using this chip?
Selective transmission, maybe it's possible because like there are two variants in this transmitter, in this transceiver. Like we can see, first one is AWR1243, in which only two channels can be simultaneously used, and second one is AWR1243P, in which all three can be used. And like
From among the channels, any switching is possible?
maybe like somewhere it was also mentioned like for in this AWR1243, for using three channels simultaneously, we can use stand division multiplex.
Okay. Then we will try that.
You said that actually could improve the angular resolution by a very big factor.
Okay. But your spatial distribution will be how far away from one antenna to other?
What's the spatial distance? That I guess we didn't find.
Okay. Okay. So your angular resolution depends on that also, no?
Yes, sir.
like
The maximum angle mentioned.
Yes, sir. We took it as like lambda by
2.
Okay. Lambda by
That's the
2
best
is
case actually.
Okay. Lambda by 2 is very close. No?
Yes,
High
sir,
frequency, your lambda will be very in millimeter. Even by 2 very close.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Lot of isolation, interference, all these things may come. We have to experiment it and see.
Yes, sir. Like here it is given. All three chains can be operated in a time division multiplexer.
Normally, this above 60 gigahertz and all, we use waveguides.
Okay, sir.
That will confine the EM waves inside the waveguides. So no external field will not be there.
Okay, sir.
So this we have to do experiment and find out our own way to how to handle this situation.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I think we just got a confirmation from the team, sir. Like that, like we can, I think, attend for. We'll be in the first 100 for attending the training, sir. Actually, they're providing that to 100 students.
Okay.
So we received an email, sir, from them just now.
Good. Okay.
Which processor? Which processor?
So both of them, sir. They'll be
both
providing hands-on training for both of them.
Okay, that is very good.
Very good. Okay. Manoj sir, only one team is participating from IST or other teams also there?
No, sir. Many teams are there.
There are 5 teams, right? Total.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
All are from avionics.
we don't know about other departments. Yeah, but yeah, avionics 5 teams.
5 teams from like third year, and maybe seniors are also there. 2-3 teams will be there.
Okay.
Any senior team?
Sir, one team was there, which I remember from that meeting. First meeting.
The Emmanuel sir's meeting, they were like showing us.
Okay.
They had various ideas. Parthasarthi Bhaiya and their team.
Yeah, and there are 6 teams.
Oh, good. Okay, other RF based transceiver chips are available. Only the processor part only we have to find out a solution, and we have to select one processor for our application.
Yes, sir.
That anyway, once you attend their classes, you will get more idea.
Yes, sir. And sir, for like, if we are not able to use like virtual antenna concept, we can go for cascading also.
Okay. meeting at 8 o'clock. So can I leave?
Yeah, please. Okay, thank you. Thanks for
Okay.
coming.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so Amrit,
Yes, sir.
any other thing to discuss today?
Sir, I guess no. For now, this thing. only.
Dr. Vanidevi has joined, right?
Yes, sir. She is there.
Dr. Vanidevi, is there anything to discuss further? Any sessions or anything?
No, sir. Today drained out time from morning 9 to 7 class I was attending. So I'm not able to even listen.
Okay. Okay. This one, the WIPO program.
Yeah, Wi-Fi. No,
WIPO, the Central.
no. IIT Kanpur.
Okay.
Wow, 5G.
Okay. Okay, then. So we'll meet next time whenever you are ready with more data. So meanwhile, get more details on the process of speed and capability, and attend the training that they provided. So this training is through online only, right?
Yes, sir. Online. LMS only. LMS based.
Okay. Yeah, that is good. I think we should take that.